Monster Blood 2. This was the first Goosebumps sequel ever. Yep. And even though it's a bad book, I still has some nostalgic factors to it for me. It was the first Monster Blood book I ever read, and the first Goosebumps book I ever rented from the school library. And this is a toy that's based on it. See, it's got the cover of the book with the hamster, the book, and when you open it, you could see, look. Yep, very nice. So what's the plot of Monster Blood 2? So basically you follow Evan Ross again, and he's a new student at this school in Atlanta. And he's told everyone about his Monster Blood adventure. And of course the kids don't believe him. And he's getting into trouble along with his science teacher, Mr. Murphy. Yeah. And a bully named Conan Barber. Yes, that is a Conan the Barbarian joke. Yep. And then one day, as a punishment, Evan has to clean the pet hamster Cuddles' cage, and Cuddles escapes. Yeah, he eventually finds him, Evan. And then Andy shows up again. Yep. And she tells Evan that she brought a can of Monster Blood with her. Yep. And Evan at first is like, yeah, I'll show everyone to prove that I'm not crazy. Yep. And then later he changes. And then it cuts to Evan sucking at basketball. Yep. Him getting bullied more by Conan. Yep. And then Conan eventually ends up stealing the can of Monster Blood, and Evan and Andy break into his house and steal the Monster Blood can back. And the next day, well, Evan has a sore throat and stays home from school. And then the next day, when he goes back to school, he finds Cuddles the size of a rabbit. And Mr. Murphy accuses Evan of overfeeding Cuddles. Yep. And then Evan confronts Andy about it, and she confesses that yes, she fed Cuddles Monster Blood behind Evan's back. And Evan is enraged, infuriated about this. Yep. And then later, Cuddles grows bigger. At first, he was the size of a rabbit. Now he's the size of a dog. Yep, and then he grows about 10 feet tall, Cuddles eventually. Yep. And at first, they try to make Cuddles tired by putting in this giant wheel that Evan's dad made. But fortunately, that doesn't work. Cuddles ends up destroying it. And then Evan gets the idea of eating a Monster Blood to grow as big as Cuddles and fight him. Well, he ends up eating the Monster Blood, Evan. He goes back into the science classroom and fights Cuddles, and eventually the can of Monster Blood expires, and yep, and he returns to normal Evan. Him and Cuddles both return to normal size. And the book ends with Mr. Murphy giving Evan Cuddles as a reward for saving the school. Yeah. And once you know, it ends with Cuddles eating more Monster Blood. And that's basically Monster Blood 2. So the positives. Not a lot of positives of this book. Well, the only positive is the cover by Tim Jacobus. You see here with Cuddles. That's a really good cover. The negatives. Boy, there are a lot of negatives with this book. Evan Ross. He was tolerable in the first book, but here he's whiny, he's a brat, he's bratty. Yeah. Complains about getting punished for things that are totally his fault. Yep. He just complains, and complains throughout this book. He is an awful, awful protagonist, Evan. Yeah. And he fantasizes about killing Cuddles at one point in the book. Yeah, like stuffing him in an oven. Yeah, and he imagines him flat as a pancake, Evan. Yeah. And Andy's another negative. Like, she hasn't learned she's learned nothing from the first book. Like, she completely forgets how dangerous Monster Blood is. Yep. And as I said, feeds it behind Evan's back to Cuddles, despite knowing how dangerous it is. Yeah. And another thing, like, Stein seems to there's really no continuity in this book, like hardly any at all from the first book. Yeah. The characters have learned nothing. They're, yeah, Evan's a whiny, bratty protagonist. Yeah. And you don't feel bad for him at all when Conan bullies him, let's just say. Yep. This book sucks and Evan sucks. Although it does have some nostalgic factor for me. The only way I'd really, really recommend this book is if you're a hardcore Goosebumps fan. That's about it. Those are the only people I would recommend this book to. Yeah, it's a piece of garbage, and yeah, it's not a good book at all. Yep, do yourself a favor and like read a much better book, yeah, than this book. So, anyways, thanks for watching and subscribe.